Ricky Stenhouse Jr. talks the Kyle Ripper firing after the National Open win, and we'll react to that today, plus some additional thoughts on the Bobby Pierce penalty from over the weekend and a lot more. Let's go. It's Wednesday, October 8th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. Did you know that DIRTRACKR is on Patreon? You can find the show at patreon.com/DIRTRACKR. It's free to sign up there. Just another way to keep up with everything we've got going on here. If you sign up for the top tier premium membership, you can get the daily show completely ad free. That means no platform ads and no ad content from me, just the dirt racing stuff. Members also get access to their own chat. There's extra content and other perks. If you want to join, hit at patreon.com/DIRTRACKR. You can also support the show on YouTube with a channel membership that gets you some added perks for just a few bucks a month. Click the join button at youtube.com/DIRTRACKR for more information on how to sign up for that. Back on Sunday, we obviously know now that the Stenhouse Jr. Marshall Racing World of Outlaws Sprint Car team parted ways with crew chief Kyle Ripper. We documented all of that back on the Monday show and talked about how odd it was to part ways with a crew chief just hours after winning one of the biggest races on the sprint car calendar. Didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, but it wasn't hard to deduce that there was probably more to the story than we knew. There were all sorts of rumors flying around Sunday and into Monday about why the move was made and how it all went down. I said that I'd heard about some of that stuff, but I decided while writing the show to not get into any of it because it's hard to know what to trust in these instances, and some of the information I was getting was pretty wild. And I had some commenters not happy that I wouldn't get into it, but it's important to understand there will always be lines I don't cross on this show. It's one thing to talk about rumors around driver and crew member movements, engine and chassis stuff and the like, but it's another thing entirely to pass on some of the stuff I was hearing. At the end of the day, the important thing was Kyle Ripper wasn't the 17 crew chief anymore, and Kyle Pruitt, who himself had just been released from Shark Racing, was in. Today, though, we got a bunch of added context about why it went the way it did, and it was a good reminder that some things just aren't what they seem. Connor Wade from DIRTVision did a 17-plus minute interview with team co-owner Ricky Stenhouse Jr. about what happened, and Stenhouse was incredibly transparent about the whole process. Stenhouse revealed that the team had started to hear around the Knoxville Nationals that they were maybe about to lose their driver and crew chief, and that he and fellow team owner Richard Marshall had already been discussing making a crew chief change. They were wanting more consistency from that 17 team and were looking at a crew chief change to elevate Sheldon more towards real championship contention. But that all changed once they knew both were departing. Their initial plan was to finish the season status quo with Sheldon and the crew, but that plan changed last week when Kyle Pruitt was released from Shark. The deal was already in place for Pruitt to take the 17 deal, and instead of waiting until the offseason, Stenhouse told Wade they wanted to get 2026 going now and have Pruitt start getting himself familiar with everything and putting things together for next year. They decided before the National Open that after Saturday they were going to release Ripper, but the move was complicated by the big win. So instead of Ricky calling Saturday night to inform Ripper, he waited until Sunday. And it all just ended up being odd timing with them scoring the win and not something more sinister like the rumors were pointing towards. And as Stenhouse put it, can you really fire somebody who was already quitting? In the interview, Stenhouse also said he and Marshall figured that losing the entire crew in the move was possible, and we know that that's what happened with Luke Vaughn and Jace Wallach also deciding to depart. Going forward, though, with Pruitt in charge, Stenhouse said we'll be surprised by who is in place to crew the 17 this weekend. He also revealed we should be expecting a driver announcement for 2026 soon. With all of that said, I certainly can't fault Stenhouse for the transparency in answering all of Wade's questions. There was really no reason for him to do it and share the process like he did, and he certainly doesn't owe us anything. It's his race team, he can run it as he sees fit, but it was good to hear from him and get some of that added clarity. We could absolutely get into a discussion about whether this was the right course of action or not at this moment, but there are arguments to be made on both sides, firing Ripper now or waiting. We could argue that point until the cows come home. Big time racing, though, isn't for the faint of heart, and sometimes tough decisions get made. We see it every year in all sorts of different series, and I say that as someone who has been fired from a race team in their career. If you haven't watched the interview, it's available across DIRTVision's social media channels. I'll try and link to it below if you have not seen it. And one side note here, kind of slash discussion, I want to point out how today and this interview felt like a big shift for Connor Wade and DIRTVision and how they cover the sport. I know they did something similar with the Donnie Schatz TSR split, but today just felt a little different. It was a step in a new direction, if you will. As someone in this media space, I pay a lot of attention to what's going on with coverage, and I try and be a student of it. Let's not gloss over the fact that DIRTVision is company-owned coverage. World Racing Group owns it along with the series that appear on it, and that's usually going to mean things are covered and talked about in a certain way. Positivity is going to reign, and they're going to work hard to elevate their teams. It's not a bad thing at all, just something to note when you watch stuff. And we see the same thing from Flow Racing for Lucas and High Limit coverage. Flow is able to venture away from it a bit because they do have written content from guys like Kyle McFadden and Kevin Kovac, but we haven't seen this type of content from DIRTVision before. DV does a lot of solid content pieces, and they have for a long time, a lot of years. But this was uncharted territory we hadn't seen them venture into previously. A newsworthy situation, a high-profile guest and car owner, and Connor Wade asking direct questions. The same questions we all wanted the answers to. Wade handled it well, and Stenhouse didn't shy away from those questions. Some of us out here have been pushing boundaries on the way the sport is talked about and covered, and often to significant pushback. But what we saw today is what we need more of. I'm fine with the fluff, but we need the real stuff too. And the sport, it's going to be better for it. Big kudos here to Wade and DIRTVision for what went on today. One more thing for the show. Bobby Pierce was sent to the tail of the World of Outlaws late model race last Saturday night for what the series called an unapproved adjustment. Pierce was initially scheduled to start on the pole of that feature, but obviously then dropped to the tail. Dirt on Dirt reported that a crew member from Pierce's team made an air pressure adjustment in the staging lane prior to that feature rolling out. And the Outlaw rulebook does prohibit this kind of thing, with a specific rule reading, quote, "Once the staging horn has been blown, no work can be completed within the staging lane, past the cones, or in the designated staging area as defined by World Racing Group officials," unquote. I said on Saturday that it felt like a pretty cut and dry situation per the rules, and I don't know that I feel much differently about that today. I posted that segment, though, as a Facebook reel yesterday, and Ricky Thornton Jr. hopped into the comments of that reel and offered his perspective. It's not uncommon to see RTJ pop up from time to time in the comments on my content, and I wanted to share what he had to say because I think it brings up a few points to consider. His comment reads, quote, "I've seen it done numerous times by competitors. We've done it ourselves. His tire looked flat, so his crew guy checked it. To be sent to the back for it, it's just plain silly," unquote. RTJ, obviously a Lucas full-timer, and a quick look through their rulebook today doesn't seem to show that they have the same rule as the Outlaws for staging in terms of those unapproved adjustments. The Lucas rulebook does say, quote, "Tire changes will not be permitted once a car has been presented to the starting grid / lineup area, and any cars making a tire change will forfeit their assigned starting position for that race and start from the rear of the field," unquote. Obviously, though, a tire pressure change is not a tire change. Others are more than welcome to discuss whether this rule for the Outlaws and staging makes sense or not. That part I really don't care about. It is not uncommon, though, for racing series to not allow changes to a car past a certain point. And if that tire went flat under pace laps or on the first lap of the race, Pierce would go to the tail anyway after a trip to the work area / hot pit to fix it. In NASCAR, though, for example, teams can pretty much be making air pressure adjustments all the way up to the time the car rolls off a pit road at the start of the race. That feels like something that could be resolved easily with a policy or procedure change here for the Outlaws. Have the crew guy alert an official that something looks amiss in the lanes and let the crew member check the tire with a gauge and an air bottle with series supervision. Also, if that rule isn't being enforced the same for everyone all the time, though, that is an issue. Hearing that others do it regularly is a problem and something that needs to be resolved. Either enforce the rule so it's the same for everyone or just get rid of it entirely. We'll shut it down right there for today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.